Well, hello and thank you for joining me for yet another iTWire video with top Australian IT executives. On my left I have Dylan Baskind and on my right I have Mark Tanner, both co-founders of a service called Qwilr. Welcome to the program.
Cheers. Great to be here.
Thank you. So please tell us what Qwilr is, how long you've been around for already, and what the big announcement today is.
Sure. So Qwilr is a really easy, really intuitive way to create documents for a business or individual. Our little twist on that is that these are actually websites.
Right.
So what we've done is basically to make a tool that is easier to use than the existing tools and the sort of incumbent tool set, but it gives you access to all the amazing stuff that the web does. It's like videos and images and analytics and everything, all the amazing power that the web has.
Now, I know we're going to go into a bit more detail, but what's the short version on how this differs from, say, Tumblr or Medium, or even things like WordPress, Weebly, Wix, and Squarespace, which are all website creation tools, but which in theory could be used for something sort of similar?
So I think the main thing is that we've really approached this from a business point of view and a document creation point of view. So it's all about sort of managing things in a way that is able to really create them very easily, to share them, and also in a way that's sort of disposable and works well for teams. It sort of is very designed around how do we make businesses more efficient, and obviously like individuals can use it as well, but it's very much how do we make businesses more efficient and things like that. Whereas I think the Tumblrs and Squarespaces and Wixes of the world, it's much for a one-off website, which is great, and they do some awesome work, but we're doing that with customers who are making thousands of documents and making it just as awesome and impressive, and all the analytics and all the other cool stuff that you can do on the web, but replacing all those old school 1980s document creation tools.
Yeah. Now, I'm just going to flip one of the questions over here. How functional is Qwilr? I mean, can it be used by anybody, or do you have to have a bit of web design experience?
A big part of the product design philosophy that underpins Qwilr is that this is for anyone.
Yeah.
This is about democratizing the web and giving anyone access to that amazing power.
And that's how disruptive tools work.
Absolutely.
Letting anybody take advantage.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that I come from a non-technical background, and you sort of sometimes you look at the stuff that happens in the web, and it's like a little bit like magic. You're like, oh, I really wish I could do that, or I wish I could embed a video, and it's sort of, oh, I want to have an iframe, or I want to have like a button here that actually does something, and it's just not sort of clear how to do it. The awesome thing with Qwilr is it's just so incredibly simple and easy to do, and it just sort of removes all of that sort of, I suppose, magic that people could do beforehand in a really easy, user-friendly way.
So how are you getting people to move from other document creation tools, I suppose like the Office, which would include things like Word and PowerPoint, over to Qwilr?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things that Qwilr offers that you just cannot do with the traditional tool set.
And we're going to see that in a sec, but sorry,
we will. Yeah. But I mean, I think for number one, it's just the intelligence of Qwilr. With your Word doc or PDF, whatever it is, you email it out, and then it goes into this black box of information. Maybe if you're incredibly clever in tech, maybe you know if they've opened it, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
It might have been forwarded on to 1,000 people, all over the globe. With Qwilr, every single doc you create generates analytics. Every time it's opened, what they've read inside your document. To that degree.
Yeah.
And it's just that's really powerful information for one thing.
Yeah, and I think on the back of that, you also have the ability, Qwilr, because webpages software, you can integrate with other bits of services. So, you can have that when they first open it, you can get pinged in Slack. If you've sent them a quote or a proposal or some pricing and they like it, they can click accept. And they can then do an e-signature, that can then sync up with Xero or FreshBooks or QuickBooks, automatically create an invoice. All of these things that tie into the back end of how your business works, whether it be accounting or CRMs or things like that, just makes it so much more powerful in a way that you just would never ever think a PDF could do that. I think that's a standard way.
And I think the other thing compared to the tools that exist is just about the huge efficiency leap you get, because at the highest level of business, the big business, copy and paste is like the epitome of efficiency.
It was like inserting a video into PDF. It's like, wow!
Exactly.
That's like 1990s, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, and also then you've then got a file that's like, a gigabyte big or something.
That's it. Good luck sending it to your email.
Issues with the web. Yeah.
And I think that's another major point of difference is that with Qwilr, you save out content in these modular pieces, and you can assemble new documents from these wholesale blocks.
Yeah.
It also means that when you start at a company, you're not just, so right now you sort of go in and there's this sort of SharePoint file or a Google Drive or whatever, and it's just this massive
blob of
mess
stuff.
of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I see with Qwilr is you can quickly see like not only like what templates are the most used or what documents are the most used across your entire team, but you can also see, oh well, okay, like the marketing guys and the brand guys have set up these sort of reasonably standard blocks that I can just like insert and quickly, you know, easily reuse. So you sort of go from like 0% to 80% really quickly. Yeah. You know, you still have to.
And then you're fine tuning it at the end.
Yeah, of course. There's always a fine tuning stuff, but we try and make the other parts of it super smooth. The one last thing, just like before we race off something else, like just web pages just look so much better.
Yeah.
Like they just look beautiful.
Well, they look like 21st century, like not the 1995 HTML hot dog, you know.
Well, no,
they look like Medium or, you know, these stunning sites.
No, thank you. And I think like that's definitely what we go for. Dylan is like an insanely great designer and has brought a whole lot of design thinking into what Qwilr does.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's a very important part of what we do, and we'll give you a bit of a demo.
Well,
later.
let's have a look at the demo now, because there are heaps of other questions, but we've got this beautiful screen behind us. Take us through.
Okay. Should we build a fresh doc, or what do you reckon we should do?
I think let's build a fresh doc if we can.
Yeah.
So,
I might even just raise this camera a little bit, so we'll still have you sort of in there, but we can also see the screen. I might even just
start the splash.
Yeah. So let's. So Alex, we're going to make a little. It's going to be like a little freelance quote for you to do some work somewhere.
Yep.
So we'll just sort of take you through. This is a totally blank document right now.
Yep.
You see up the top, you've got the title. This is what the tab is going to be called when people open the document.
Yeah, I'm just going to put the blinds down here to get rid of some of the reflection on the monitor. So keep going, because people are watching.
Okay. So at the top, you've got So you'll see here, Dylan's just adding a bit of text.
Yeah, there we go. Freelance quote.
It's for Alex.
At iTWire, very cool. Tell us about it.
And then, as you can see, I suppose the important thing to say here is exploring the awesomeness of Qwilr.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, real modesty coming in. So apart from Dylan's typing fails,
that's all right.
You know, this is adding text in Qwilr is just as normal. Like it's just totally normal tools.
But then let me just zoom in on that. So I'm going to miss your faces here, but what we're seeing there is some formatting tools, right?
Yeah, so I think the important thing to note here is that the fundamental tools of Qwilr are very familiar.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we have in many ways reinvented the notion of documents, but we're not breaking. Like, people will know these tools inside out already. And it just works.
So I'm zoomed right into those, so just feel free to show. And then you've got other things on the side here. What have you got there?
Well, for example, you know, something that's really cool about Qwilr is that you can package up the way things look. You just with a single click, you can change the whole look and feel of this content.
And this is all just, you know, very simple, basic CSS rules. Every account comes preloaded with a whole bunch of basics that are built in. But you can totally customize this if you want to sort of, you know, go as deeply as you.
So this is the first page. So and that's switching to edit mode at the top there.
Yeah.
So
but I think like what we should do is probably that's the text. That's like we want to leave it in.
But then you're scrolling down.
So I think you know.
So these are some beautiful backgrounds.
These are beautiful backgrounds.
Let's. Which one do you want to use?
I always like this one.
All right.
This can also be your freelance quote.
Yeah.
We'll make it big.
So obviously you can use any. You know, your own images here. We come with a whole range of ones that are already preloaded. You know, once you've set up your brand fonts and your brand colors, you can see here when Dylan clicks off, you can tint it in various different colors as well. Make it full page. All the tools are very intuitive and easy to use. And so right now, okay, it's starting to look a little bit nicer. It's got a nice big splash up top. Do we want to try a video?
Yeah, we'll show you just because we think this is an awesome feature that's launched recently. So it's not just static images that you can do, that we have a stock library of. You can actually add background videos because, again, Qwilr is trying to embrace all the amazing things that the web does.
And these are these websites where you go there and you see the splash page and it's got this amazing video, just like we're seeing right now.
It's exactly like this.
So it's totally easy. Anyone can use this.
People
not
love
just for websites.
Yep.
For documents. Right? You're sending out a proposal, a big proposal. You want to look good. This is so simple to do. But it's a website that looks, you know, it looks awesome on mobile, on tablets, on the web. But it's just super impressive.
Yeah.
Should we give them a really quick demo of the quoting tool?
If you want, we can throw in the Moderna. If you want.
Yep. So this is what I was talking about efficiency, because you can save out whole blocks of content. And the important thing I think to mention is it's not just static content. You can actually save out complex, logical, functional pieces. Like, for example, this is our quoting tool. So you've just dropped in, a complete priced quoting tool.
Yeah, I'll just zoom in a little bit there.
Yeah. So this is our quoting tool. It's very easy to use. It's really easy to add stuff and change things, whatever you like.
And this is a module that's already in Qwilr for anybody.
Correct.
Yeah. And is this one of the brand new features?
I know
this feature's been here for a long time, but this has been greatly expanded. So we've got a whole host of total currency support across everywhere in the world. We've launched integration, so the ability to accept documents, and then clients can accept them. They can do an e-signature. They can then have once it's accepted, they can integrate with Xero, FreshBooks, QuickBooks, a whole host of tools like that. We've really built it out to make it awesome.
Sure. And so what are we looking at on the left-hand side there? Just configuring output?
Yeah, so this is something that people, again, this is like giving people the tools to do the things they want to do with a complex piece of functionality, but just making it really easy, really comprehensible. So this is how you can configure however you want your quote to look, when it goes out to your client, which is just literally click, click, click to make it happen. Let's drop in this is your contact block. Okay.
Yep. There you go.
There you go.
So we already said it before, and that's just got links to your website, to a mail to link to your email address, all those sort of basic things that we sort of saw before. So as you expect.
And if you scroll down, you can add more and more things. That's the interface, right? Just
and so anywhere you want to add one, just between two blocks.
Yep.
You just click. You can add video. You can add a quote, text. The cloud source, this is basically an iframe to another site. So sometimes it might be like, let's say you're working on a freelance quote and maybe you're talking about stock market crash that's just happening. You could link straight to Google Finance or Yahoo Finance to show the stuff, and then that chart becomes an interactive chart, not just some static snapshot. That makes sense. Yeah. So
what was all the stuff at the top there? Just whilst we're here, at the very top of the project.
Sure. Yeah. So that's actually a good point. So I think actually so let's pretend it's got a little bit more content in it, but we're happy with this quote. It's all looking pretty good. Maybe we want to drop in a video as well, and a video is just as easy as you just add a YouTube or a Vimeo or Wistia link, and you're done. At the top here, so when you send out Qwilr, and we can sort of so I suppose the first thing to say is go and preview it.
And I think what's cool to point out here is that this is exactly what you were editing in your here in the other thing, and that's just so different. You mentioned WordPress, for example. It's like a fundamentally different experience.
Yeah, well, you're in some content management system, and it's totally different.
Yeah, it's a matter of refresh, see how it looks.
It's back in 1990s, I used Qwilr Draw, and version 1 and 2, you did everything in wireframe. It wasn't until version 3 that it was rendered.
Exactly.
And you used to have to push this and wait for it, and that's
that's a big very central part of
making WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get. It's critical to making it easy for everyone to feel comfortable in the design aspect here. So I suppose that's the first part. The second part is security. So first of all, every Qwilr doc that you make just normally is very secure. We use the same obfuscation techniques that Google uses for their documents, that Dropbox uses, and things like that. But obviously you can do a lot more as well. So passwords, you enable password protection. So 1, 2, 3, that's a very secure password.
Time limits, disable,
and publicly clonable as well, which is a bit separate. But I suppose so. Enable password is very simple. A time limit. Maybe you only want to have your document be valid for a week or a month or whatever.
You can turn your Qwilr into the Snapchat of document tools.
That's something we've definitely mentioned.
And actually, one of the features that's coming out shortly is the ability to have a view limit. So you could say, I'm sending this out. Yeah. But you don't want it to have more than X number of views. 5 views or 10 views or whatever. And then
and disable.
Just quickly on disable. I think. Yeah. Right now, this happens to everybody once or twice a year. You send something out and you're like, oh, that should not have gone to that person, or that should not have, or
it's like an undo feature, like an undo sending your email.
It really is.
Right? This is with PDF, that's gone, and yes, you hope that they delete it, but the reality is they could forward it on anywhere. With webpage, you're able to disable it quickly and easily. You're also able to look at analytics, which we'll get to in a second, and
see who saw it.
See
who you need to apologise to.
So sharing is easy. This is just there's sharing on social via PDF and other things like that.
Sure. And if we go back on the left,
And then if we go back, you've got
cloning.
Cloning, so that's just copying the entire document, so much like you save and reuse. Delete and other things like that. This won't have any analytics because no one's viewed it yet. We've just created it. But if we go back to projects, we've got the press release we shot out, which hopefully you saw, Alex.
I did.
And so you can see here, the Sling and Stone Wi-Fi is a little slow.
That's all right.
But you see here we have the ability to sort of look at what the analytics are. So you can say, well, here are the number of views over the past 30 days, how many people have viewed it. You can scroll down and see each one. You can see the location. You can get click in to get more info. So,
and I think why this is like so fundamentally different from anything else that's out there is that you get a breakdown of what people are actually engaging with.
Yep.
As I said, you might know someone's opened it. You don't know what in there they're actually interested in, what draw their attention. What of the content we're selling out is actually converting people.
Yeah. And these are your own analytic tools. You're not linking into Google or StatCount or something else. Which is great.
Yeah,
and it's because it's part of the system. You don't have to join something else.
Exactly.
No, exactly.
It's all here.
It's very powerful. And I think the idea of also, you can now work on a pitch deck or a proposal or whatever it is. And look, first of all, just knowing whether your client ever actually opened the doc is nice in the first place.
Crucial, yeah.
But then being able to see in time, does we think that this part's really cool. Maybe no one actually reads that. Maybe no one watches that video. Maybe this stuff.
You thought it was the best thing,
and but actually it's not converting. And now you can start to do some A/B testing, start to evaluate things over time because you have the data. Which previously, whether it's with Adobe tools or Microsoft tools or what have you, nothing like that was possible.
Now, I don't want you to show me anyone's details that's looked at your press release, but does it show you the email of the person that opened the press release? How do you know exactly? Is it an IP address? Or?
It does track IP.
Tracks IP, and look, the other thing that we do for some of our paid customers is have the option of multiple links. So you can say, let's say you're pitching a really big company, but the CEO is the person who's making the decision.
Yep.
You can actually send different links to different people, so you know which person is viewing what.
And each of those different links gather their own separate analytics.
Back down again. Yep. Sorry for the wobbling there, guys. So who was already using Qwilr? You've been out for a little while now, and who are the other types of users that you expect to become Qwilrers, especially with the new features? I mean, you've already said this to some degree, but go for it.
Sure. So Qwilr started off when we sort of first launched it. It was very much around everybody, as you'd expect, early adopters, a lot of people in software, digital groups, digital marketing firms. We've since expanded very much into I suppose consultants, professional services people of all shapes and sizes. Now Qwilr is moving more and more towards sales teams. I think we sort of as is often the case, a lot of freelance people started. We're now starting to work with bigger and bigger teams doing more complex things. The great thing about Qwilr is it does automate things within your workflow. It looks really impressive and beautiful. And I think for some of the bigger teams, there's always been an issue of, everyone wants to get their decks, done quickly and easily, and look really impressive, and also not worry about the brand and marketing part of it, which is often companies want to look professional.
Yep.
And Qwilr allows you to set a few rules and guardrails around that, saying hey, here are brand fonts. Here are brand colors. Here are some sections and templates.
It's all in Qwilr.
It's there. It's there, and you can let your sales team run wild on it without any risk on that side.
And so, has anyone used Qwilr in ways that you didn't expect? New use cases.
We've certainly seen some fun and interesting uses, including fan fiction was one of the hilarious, fantastic uses, but also fun things from the consumer end, like wedding invitations, party invitations. You've seen also, other unexpected, but I think more business-oriented use cases like newsletters. We have a music management company using us for ages, sending out these YouTube, links and stuff to all their bands.
Yeah, and I think it's been, at the end of the day, much as we are very much focused on making this awesome for business and making sales documents suck a whole lot less because they are just genuinely terrible right now. Qwilr is a content creation tool that makes really beautiful web pages, and there's just a whole host of things people use it for, and we love that. We absolutely love that.
So what are you mentioned there's paid tiers. What are the paid tiers, and is there a free tier?
Yeah, so there's a free tier of Qwilr, and actually to your question earlier, you sort of talked about how do you get people to move from the PowerPoints and other things like that.
Yeah,
that's really critical to have a free tier to let people get in, put a toe in the water, explore around, get comfortable. The pay tier starts at $29. There's an $89 plan as well.
And is that a month, a year?
Per month. Per month. And then we also do some custom enterprise work as well.
And for that they get much more access to...
Well, for that they get... So we're working on things where it's much more about the programmatic creation of documents. So going into a database and pulling out, let's say a document you're sending out, it's got a template to some degree, and you want to have there are name fields, company name fields, date fields, price fields that you just want to replace. You want everything else in the template to stay the same. It doesn't matter whether you're doing that for one person or 10,000, we can create that instantly. And so that's what we're sort of working on that side.
And obviously the Qwilr website has the breakdown of the business tiers. People can go and have a deeper look.
Have a look. I mean, I think the main part with the free though is, free is the main parts of Qwilr that you've seen today. Business brings in security, analytics, all of the integrations, all of the accept and e-sign and all of those and audit trails around that. So all the things that, if you're a business, you really want to use those tools. If you're using this, just to get started and want to, throw together a quick quote or proposal, totally fine. But, all of our, customers love the other extra tools that we bring. So,
are there any new product features or exciting things in the pipeline? Which sort of leads me also into how do you think, looking a bit longer term and without giving any secrets away, how do you think Qwilr will evolve over the next 5 to 10 years?
So we do have some...
The short term first, yeah.
Well, we do have some exciting features coming out sort of recently. So our accept feature is it's been in the beta phase for a long time, and now it's out to the world. And that, makes your quotes acceptable for one thing, and can integrate with your accountancy systems. So we've got Xero, QuickBooks, FreshBooks.
I love those APIs.
I love those APIs.
Yeah.
Also it is.
Yeah.
And audit trails is another important thing, is keeping corporate compliance and keeping a record of that entire accept process. Digital signatures have come out. What else? What other features have we released?
I think that the big thing that's happened with Qwilr now, and we were talking before the interview started, Alex, is that, this is sort of the Qwilr we always had in mind when we started building it. And I think that beforehand we were making really beautiful web pages that were super impressive and customers absolutely loved them, but they weren't really fully embracing the web. And we've added a whole bunch more features to the web, like the ability to have buttons that do things on the page.
True interactivity as opposed to just a brochure.
Exactly. And so I think video was always nice, but now you can have iframes in there as well, which gives kind of a huge range of things that you can do. People are already using them for complex tables like financial modeling, as well as graphing.
Because that's already on some other site, and
it's embedded.
You're pulling it in. So you're doing a sales report to your team. You're going through getting all the context, doing a few case studies, but then the actual main part, that shouldn't be like an image. That should be a link to a dashboard that's showing you live data that you can manipulate.
Right in there in the presentation whilst you're showing stuff to the people. Now, sorry, go on.
I think that part of what's happened with this release is also making the documents transactional. So I think that the Qwilr we had was a great way to communicate your brand, your business, and your offering. This is now starting to automatically weave up with all the rest of the software that runs your business and lets you have a far more automated sales process at scale.
You gotta love disruption. It's great. So 3 more questions. One of them, I think people will be interested if they're in their own startup phase. What were the trials and tribulations of creating Qwilr as a startup and getting it funded? And we'll go to the other 2 in a minute.
Look, I think the number one challenge of any startup, any small business, is just resource, because you want to play at the highest level. You're dealing, especially having a B2B product. Their businesses are reliant on you to do an excellent job. And you're trying to do everything because you don't even have a draft version of the things you need to do. So the challenge of day one is we need to get our website looking great. We need to get a blog up. We need to make our product work infallibly. We need all the things that everyone needs to do business. And I think, and all the startup literature is about this, is working out where to start, what really matters, what's most critical, A, B, C, D. Which is such a long learning process, and I think it's just fighting that lack of resource and having the critical faculty to say, all right, well, what do we need to take care of step one, day one, and working back from there. I think that's the major challenge that I think.
Yeah. Mark? As far as then to talk about the other half of this, as far as the funding part goes, I mean, I was involved in a startup back in the day, an ebook startup, back when ebooks were the hot thing, and that was. Getting funding in Australia was
impossible.
I mean, we were very lucky we got some, but it was because we knew a very rich person, or one of the founders did rather. And now it's the case that there's a very supportive network. We were funded early by an investor that actually tried to matchmake Dylan and I. We've known each other since we were teenagers, which was sort of a funny thing. When we did our round, we raised $500,000 earlier this year. That was there are mechanisms for doing this now. There are a range of venture capital firms in Australia. They're very approachable and eager to meet with good young startups.
Yep.
And I think that it's fantastic that raising the money here is now very
feasible.
Plausible. I mean, perhaps not if you want to raise, say, a $10 to $20 million round.
Sure, but it's a lot better for startups than it was just a few short years ago.
Oh, for sure. And I think if you're by that stage, you probably raised a little $100,000 to start, then $500,000, and then you raise a few million, and all that can get done in Australia. And that probably is taking you for the first X years. And then, yes, if you really want to go crazy, maybe
Silicon Valley awaits.
If you're at that stage, you can surely afford it.
Sure, and you guys obviously are part of the generation that's making it easier for future startups.
And it's interesting, you mentioned that because I did a business when I was about 19 years old, and there was no community, was the other thing, and there was just no one I could speak to. It wasn't even the word startup. This was the thing. I was like, I'm doing a business. That's what I told people.
A new business.
Well, exactly. I'm just doing a small business.
Yeah.
There was no one around to ask anything. I mean, it's funny, like recently, I've just been speaking to a bunch of founders, like, I've got this thing I'm trying to work out in the business. There's people 4 years ahead of you, 1 year ahead of you, 1 year behind you, 5 years behind you. Yeah. And it's just this whole spectrum of people you can go to, collaborate with, and share knowledge.
It's also I think in an interesting way, this is a very lucky thing for us. There's some really seriously top quality engineering talent in Australia now, and I think the fact that we have, for us, we're making a document editing tool and a website editing tool. The fact that we have a range of people from Atlassian and from Google who worked on things like Google Wave and other really pushing at innovations. And then I think both of those companies have huge engineering teams here, and there's other employee, like one of our employees worked for Microsoft in the US for a number of years. But if you can join a startup and live in Australia,
that's pretty
that's
cool.
Great.
Yeah.
So I think both I was working for Google in New York. Both of us came back for this startup and for the startup culture here. And I think that Australia is really benefiting from a mix of talent, community, I think media interest as well. I think community interest as well as dollars.
The funding
There's funding around, so it's a really great spot for them.
And also, you didn't wait, Mark, until you were like 50 or 60 to come back to Australia. You come back, the Brains Trust has come back much earlier.
Well, I think people are really excited about it. There's
a
really great buzz, and I think it is a great and growing community. And I think that it's also one of those things that when you're starting a company, once those core things are met, a lot of it's to do with where is your support network, because there are times when this is hard and you've got putting long hours. And if you have one of those weeks that you've just been working yourself absolutely crazy, and then on Saturday you go into Bondi and have a beer with a friend, life is great. You sort of realise that it's all going to be okay.
And you still have your mentors from overseas that you can just contact almost at the drop of a hat. Time zone differences notwithstanding, you can just contact them. So look, just to change gears for a second last question, I always like to ask, it was inspired by Ashton Kutcher actually. He came to Australia with Lenovo, and he was talking about people asking stupid questions and intelligent questions, and one of his suggestions was to always ask, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received to help you get you where you are today? Because it's we can learn something interesting.
My best piece of advice, I don't think is from a necessarily traditional source, but Bob Dylan's opinion on opinions was, and maybe I've transmogrified this a little bit, but you should listen to anyone who wants to speak to you. You don't necessarily need to agree with them, but the important thing is just anyone who wants to give you an opinion, you should listen to, and then be very judicious about what you incorporate into your own psyche. And I think that's worthwhile. You should give everyone the airtime, and then go away and think, how much do I agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, they always say you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you listen. And I mean, there's talk about nobody likes unsolicited advice, but like you were saying, listen to it, you might learn something.
It's always something.
And then also treat every bit of advice, be it from whatever source it is, equally, and be thoughtful about it. My favourite one is Ben Horowitz has a book out at the moment, which is The Hard Thing About Hard Things. It's great. I think it's a fantastic book to read if you're starting a company. He's a very famous Silicon Valley investor. He has a line in there are no silver bullets, there are only lead bullets. But you've got a lot of them. Yeah. And you just keep, sometimes with a business, you can be tempting to think, if we just get this one thing right, we're going to be off to the moon, and that's not how it works. At least not in our experience.
You get that one thing right, there's another 10 things waiting.
Yeah, I think that silver bullet thing is probably a lie 99% of the time, maybe 99.9% of the time. Yeah. The lead bullets thing is true though. You make this work 5% better. You make this other process automated. You hire a good person who's going to do this stuff well. you do a partnership that, you know, it's not going to change the world, but does improve your numbers a little bit. And all of these things add up. And then after a while, it feels like you can get into the wall, but you start realizing this growth curve is starting to bend. And these other things are, you know, bad things are falling off or whatever. And it is the case that is what enables rapid growth. And the great thing with software businesses and technology businesses and incorporating technology into your business is once you've built that, it stays, you know, and those processes sort of often go
which is interesting. We saw some of the guys from Y Combinator come and speak in Sydney, and the founder of Twitch, his like one distilled piece of advice was just stay alive, which I think plays to the notion of, you know, if you stay alive long enough, you can work out these processes, you can optimize here, optimize there, and as a conglomerate, that's when you really start to take off.
And then all of a sudden, people say you're an overnight success because you've jumped from whatever it is to 100-fold that really quickly, but actually all the steps beforehand is what built up to it.
Absolutely. Well, that cumulative growth. Yeah. So, do you guys have any final messages for iTWire viewers and readers, and for your current and future Qwilrs?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the first thing is we're just like so excited about this product. Like, it is just awesome at the moment, and Dylan and the engineering team put like a whole bunch of work in. So, like, go check it out. We're super accessible on email, so if you like it or have suggestions or questions or whatever, just you know, feel free to shoot us through an email. But yeah, we'd love you all to give Qwilr a go. And yeah, thanks so much, Alex.
Any comments from you, Dylan?
Well, all I can say, I think that, you know, if you're going to be a future user of Qwilr, what you can expect from us is what we are trying to do with Qwilr is to make this notion of documents and this notion of websites become synonymous. Yeah. And we hope that we want to empower you if you're not a designer or a developer or a necessarily tech-savvy person. We want to give you access to all the amazing stuff you spend, you know, 90% of your time checking out on the web. And we hope that in the future it'll literally be the same thing. So please come check it out.
All right. Well, Dylan and Mark, thank you very much. Best of luck, and I look forward to using it myself.
Cheers.
Thank you.